everybody, welcome back to the Sublimation Life. Today we're going to hang out in the Cricut crafting corner to learn how to make these adorable glittery cardstock candles. Now the cardstock is from Michaels. The design link for these will be linked in the descriptions for you to go check out if you want to try these out. It's a super easy method, very simple design. I'll show you the step-by-step way of making them, and I'll also let you know what materials are needed. Very simple, not a lot of materials are needed. You'll need a cardstock. This is just a color I have around, but it's a glitter cardstock from Michaels. You'll need either a hot glue gun or crafting glue, whichever works best for you. I do like to use hot glue guns just because it dries quicker. It is a little warm to work with, so you can use the crafting glue if you like, but hot glue dries much quicker and get through your project quicker. Again, just be careful that you're not burning your fingers, but it works a lot better for me, but whatever works best for you. You'll of course need your Cricut cutting machine or whatever machine you prefer to use. Today we'll be using the Cricut Explore Air 2 and then also Cricut Design Space. Let's get started. All right, so here we are in Cricut Design Space. As you can see, I've already uploaded the parts into Canvas. If you need to know how to do this, there's another video I'll link up above and in the descriptions for you. It goes through the whole process of uploading another project. That way you know how to get projects uploaded. Again, there is a link in the descriptions for this template if you do decide you want to try out this project. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to go ahead and get it cut out and made. So you can see there are 4 parts here that I use from the project. The candles are already pre-sized for you. So there's a 4-inch one, it says 6, and it's including the tabs right now. But once it's all done, it's 4 inches tall, 5 inches tall, and then 6 inches tall. And then it has all of the circles that you already need preloaded together. These are all exactly the size needed, so don't adjust them without adjusting these. Everything will fit together, but if you adjust one size and not the other, it won't fit properly. So just be aware of that. Okay, one quick thing I do want to show you. I like to change 2 of the colors, and I'm going to show you why here really quick. Let's go ahead to make it. And when it comes up, I do use the long 12 by 24 mat for cutting with 12 by 12 cardstocks. That way I can cut quicker and more projects at once. But you can see it laid 3 of these down, but you can only have 2 that are going to be in the middle of the cardstock. Otherwise, you can see here at 12, one's going to get cut in half, and we don't want that. So let's cancel that. Okay, so here we are again. What I'm going to go ahead and do is click on this, go over here to the bordered one where it has the outline, and I'm just going to go over and change the color. We'll do that, and then I'll also do the circles a different color as well. So go on and click the same color. You only want 2 colors though. So white and then purple. And now we'll go back over to make it. And I can see it's got only 2 of the candles here, so you can properly cut them without one getting cut in half. You could also probably put your circles on one of these as well, so they would fit right along there. But because there's so many of them, I like to go ahead and just put them on their own sheet. And that way they have enough room to get cut out and you don't have to worry about anything overlapping the cuts. And that way it's just easier and less messy that way. So go ahead and just kind of move everything into place, making sure nothing passes this 12 mark, because otherwise things are going to get cut in half or cut off, and we don't want that either. So go ahead and just kind of rearrange to where you're comfortable there. And then I always like to put my big projects in the center. That way we make sure there's no side cutoffs around any lines. Once you have this all set, we'll go ahead and cut our first project here. Go to continue. All right, so now we are in the cutting options. The thing I like to use is you'll go to the dial on your actual machine and go to custom. Then you can go to set base material, go to browse all materials. And if you're using glitter cardstock, make sure you have it set on glitter. Otherwise, it's not going to cut as deep when it needs to. If you're using standard cardstock, I like to use the intricate cuts. It makes it really nice and clean cuts. For now, I am using glitter, so we'll do glitter cardstock. I like to do more pressure, and that's it. We'll go ahead and start cutting. All right, so now we have all of our pieces cut out. You should have 4 pieces total, the outer shell and 3 circles. The first step I like to do is go ahead and turn your glitter cardstock over if you are using glitter cardstock. The reason I turn it over is because you can see your cuts better on the reverse side versus trying to see your cuts on a shiny side. If you're using regular cardstock, it shouldn't matter, but for this purpose, that is why I do it. That way you can see and make sure all of your pieces have been cut out properly and there's nothing still in the spot where it shouldn't be. You also want to make sure that these slots, that the pieces are out of there and that these little bumps are cut out properly. Now the first step is to go ahead and roll your outer shell. You're going to connect these bumps into these slots over here. The side with the slots is going to go over first, and then you will connect your bumps into the slots that are right there. And you can see they just slide in really well. Take your time so you're not bending anything. All right, you can see now that it's nice and round. That is where the slots are and the dots go into the slot. You can see what it looks like from the inside here where the bumps are in the slots. If you kind of fold them over, you can see, but you don't want to fold it because you don't want to bend anything. This is what it should look like at this time. You can see that the little cutouts are starting to fold out, and that's okay. What you're going to do is actually take your finger and push them slightly from the inside, and then just kind of bend those hearts like that. That way it gives that little 3D effect. So go ahead and do that on all of those. All right, so it should look kind of something like this now. You can see where the hearts are kind of bent out and flared out a little bit, and that's going to give that effect of the 3D hearts. So you should be at this point here. Now that you're this far, we're going to go ahead and start bending our bottom and our top ridges. I like to start with the bottom first. You can tell which way is the bottom by looking at the hearts. The bottom's down here. The first thing you're going to go ahead and do is bend the bigger portion right at the base, just like that. You'll bend all of those in. Just make sure you bend them along the baseline. Okay, so you should look like this, where everything's kind of bent in like that. Now these little flaps that you have here, the smaller piece now where it gets a flare right in the middle, you're gonna bend that little piece backwards towards the outer side. So go ahead and do that with all of those smaller pieces, just like this. You're gonna bend it backwards. And don't bend it too far. I like to bend it about halfway, if you can see right there where the bend is, just like that. Okay, so now we should kind of look like this, where it's bent in first and then bent backwards for the second time. Those little parts are what's going to hook onto your first round. You're going to take the first circle with the ridges. You have 2 of them. It doesn't matter which one you grab. You'll just grab one and tuck all of these in to the center of the circle, just like this. So they kind of hook on there. Go ahead and do that. All right, so you should have this at this point. It's just kind of holding on by these little tabs. Now what you're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and glue the small part of the tab back on to the circle. Now remember, this is the bottom, so it doesn't matter, but when you do glue it, you want to make sure that you're going to be able to glue the bottom to the outer shell flatly so that you don't have any hangovers. So I like to glue mine just about like that. So that's about that far away from the outer edge there. So I'm going to go ahead and tack one down with my hot glue gun here. And again, you can use crafter's glue, hot glue, whatever works for you. The hot glue for me just sets up a lot quicker. I do want to note here also really quick that those little ridges that are on the inside are where these tabs will sit, and you'll notice how they sit there. I do like to start where the connectors are, where the bumps go into the slots. I like to start on the back side there, and then you'll do your second one across, and then you'll cross, and I'll kind of show you as I go here. So just kind of like that. And then as across as you can go, you just go right across. That way it lines up easily. There should be 3 in the middle of each cross. So count 1, 2, 3. That's going to be a tab down. 1, 2, 3. That will be a tab down. And then this will be exactly across from the one that you just glued down. And then just make sure you have your tabs all in the right spot before you glue anything. Otherwise it's going to come out wonky and you're not going to have everything in the right spot. Alright, so this is where you should be right now. You have your 4 initial tabs glued down, and the across is what I was referring to as saying the tabs across from each other. And with these tabs, you'll have 3 in the center of each laid down sided tabs. I like to go ahead and glue 3 down at a time, but you can go ahead and, if it's easier for you, glue the center down and then glue the center down and then kind of go in a circle that way. But I'm going to go ahead and do 3 at a time. That's just quicker for me, but whatever works for you, do what's going to be the best for you. All right, so you should have all of your tabs glued down to your bottom. At this point, I really don't care because this is the bottom, how they line up real well, because you're obviously not going to see it. But from here, we need to attach the flapped circle to the bottom. This part you do want to be intentional with where you're placing it because you don't want it to look like it's way far out there. You want it to line up as much as possible. So I like to go ahead at this point do 3 or 4 slots. Again, you can do 1 at a time if you want, but you're just putting little dabs of glue in the middle and then squishing it down. I like to kind of hold on the inside and then squish down on the outside, slightly pushing the frame outwards. So go ahead and do that. All right, so just to show you the first part, you can see where it's really flat and glued down, and that's what you want all the way around. Where it's fairly mesh, you can't really see much of an overlap, it just looks like one. So continue doing that all the way around. All right, so we should look something like this at this point. Your bottom is on. Again, it doesn't matter much how these line up. You can make an additional one of these because this is what'll go on the top, but it covers up those tabs. So if you want, you can cut a secondary one to put there, but nobody's gonna see it because it's gonna be on the bottom. Now we're gonna do the exact same thing with the second ridged inside circle. Fold it inwards with the larger part, fold it outwards with the second smaller tab, and then put it on and glue it all down. So go ahead and do that. All right, so we should be at this point now. You should have your 2 rigid circles on with your tabs glued down and the circles glued down to the outer shell. The last thing we need to do is take our last circle. You can see this one's just clean cut, there's no ridges. And this is gonna go right on top, just like that. And that's what's gonna cover up those top tabs for us, which is why I didn't care too much of how they looked, because they get covered up anyways. Again, you just want to be mindful of how you're placing this, and that way it lays flatly and you get a good, nice, clean product. All right, so from here, just kind of clean up any excess if you used hot glue like I did, the little strings that can kind of catch on. And you just want to flare back out the little hearts as much as you can or as much as you want to. You don't have to completely flare them out, but it gives more of that 3D effect and also more of the shadow when the candle's actually in there. Also, I do use the LED candles. I don't use real candles in there. Obviously, that's a fire hazard, so don't do that. This is paper, so we want to use LED lights for our candles. All right, so there is your final product. Again, it does come with 3 candles. I do have the other one over off to the side, but this is what they look like with glitter cardstock that I got from Michael's. Really cute, really sparkly effect. So it's a really cute, easy project to do. If you enjoyed this tutorial, if it was helpful for you, go ahead and boop that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share for others so they can get helped as well. Have a wonderful day and happy crafting.